So I don't know if you know that last year my goal was to read 100 books. And I read about 80 books, and I'll be reviewing the top books that really made a difference. And I found that reading does so much to us because it helps you reflect, it challenges the way you think about things. And for me, as I wrote in my first book, Rise, it helped me really think about how to be a bridge, not a ditch. So, are you being a bridge to yourself and a bridge to others, or are you being a ditch to yourself and to others? I found one of the ways that people are ditches to themselves and to others is this avoidance, conflict avoidance. I've seen it in boardrooms, I've seen it in professional spaces, in workspaces, in homes. And if you actually view conflict as an enemy, then chances are you will never do anything about the conflict. So today, I want to encourage you to think about how to be a bridge and not a ditch by choosing to have courageous conversations. Courageous conversations. And courageous conversations are tough because you stand to lose something. I think the first thing is that the ego gets in the way. Secondly, there's a piece around what if the person is angry towards you? What if they're defensive? What if they just dismiss you? What does that do to you? And so, what I want to encourage you to think about is that when you are doing and having a courageous conversation, it is for the good of both you and the other person. And what do I mean? So someone has a performance issue, and that's something that happens a lot in workspaces. And I have seen organizations where when someone is not performing well, you keep moving them around, like some toys, just around. If you're thinking about some of these board games, you keep moving around the dices and the pieces, hoping that that problem will get out of my way. That is a lack of justice. Stop it. You know why? Because by doing so, you are lacking the courage to call out the bad behavior and to call in the person. Call out the bad behavior, call in the person. And I remember organizations where I was trying to help them think about their culture. And the culture was a culture of avoidance. And if you have a culture of avoidance, people don't speak about what they need to speak about candidly. People don't challenge the way they can improve the status quo. People say, hey, here we don't rock the boat. I remember one client telling me on the first week where she was being inducted, one of the colleagues came and said, hey, let me take you for lunch. Forget that formal induction. This is the real induction. Let me tell you what happens here. Don't talk. Don't give ideas. Don't. And she was like, what? Will I get even through probation? But because she had been in our Rise Masterclass, she said, I didn't come here to just behave like everyone else. I want to come and find ways in which I can change the status quo and actually bring some sunshine into this space. And so she decided, you know what, people have said this or the other, but I think they're operating out of fear. And my last video was about fear. And when people fear a lot of things, what happens is that they tend to then disengage. So how do you have a courageous conversation? So in one organization where they kept moving people around and people were so unhappy, because I think you can tell when you're performing poorly. You can tell when the way you are performing is really not up to scratch, it's not up to standard. And then you're moved around, and so it's like there's a bad smell, but no one really wants to deal with it. I think it would be unfair for any of us as professionals, as leaders, to behave like that. So how do you do this courageous conversation? I think the first thing I want to encourage you to do is get your journal. Get your journal. That's our journal for this year. Get your journal and actually write down what is frustrating you about the situation. Write down the facts. What is it that needs to be dealt with? Not your emotions, your opinions. The facts. And I think it's so important to deal with facts. You come to work late. You come at 9:30 instead of 8:30. That is a fact. And if you can cite the number of times, then you start to make progress in terms of getting to the issue. The next thing you think about is, what are the effects? What are the things that you need to be asking yourself are the consequences of this behavior? Intended or unintended consequences and effects. And so by someone coming late, then their deliverables are delayed, the customers are unhappy, the team members who depend on his input are just not able to conclude on their work. And so there are actually effects that are invisible and visible. And so it's important to actually write them down. Write them down. This is before you even have the conversation, the courageous conversation, because courage comes also from preparation. You're not just going to go there to say things just for the sake of it. Hopefully, you can check your intention. That's the third thing. Check your intention. Why do you want to have this courageous conversation? I certainly hope it's not just to dominate and be domineering, but you want to actually lift as you rise. So you want this person to see that they have more potential, it's not coming to the surface, and this particular behavior is actually blocking them from rising. So check your intention. And that's why it's so important that your intention then really shows itself in the words that you use and the preparation. And then choose to have the conversation in a space and time that works for both of you. Don't have conversations when you're exhausted, when you're already stressed and upset and irritated. And so choose to have that conversation at a time that makes sense for both of you. And then have the conversation and engage your ears more than your mouth. In other words, share what you're not happy about and then say, what do you think? Is there something I need to be aware of? Are you aware of this? Because I think people operate in life largely out of the blind spots. And so you want to ensure that the blind spots are reduced, or you can shed light into those blind spots. And then listen. And remember, if the person is not ready to engage fully, you have done your prep work. You have listened to this video, you've taken notes, you've thought about it, you've reflected, you may have even prayed about it. This person may feel ambushed. So if you see that they are kind of gasping for air, be courteous enough and say, okay, maybe we can adjourn this and meet tomorrow, same time, or at a time that works for both of you. I think the hardest part is really the remedy, the solution, the last piece. And this is where you then need to pay a lot of attention to how do you solve this problem? How do we solve this problem of you not meeting your deadlines, of you not selling, of you not, you're putting effort there, but this is not coming through. And you then discuss that and agree on a plan where you hold them accountable, provide the tools, the insights, the skills that they may need to actually strengthen their performance, and then provide an enabling environment, but also provide one that has candor and what I call courageous empathy. So you empathize, but you're still lifting the person up. Well, I hope that this courageous conversation that we've had, that I've guided you on, will make a difference to the quality of your relationships, the quality of your performance, the quality of your conversations, both in your personal and professional space. Try it and let me know how it's going, because too many people are resentful, carrying a lot of bile in their hearts and stomachs, stressed out because there are things they should say and say them with dignity, but they're not saying them. And as a result of that, they then can't move forward. I wish you the very best, because by being courageous, having courageous conversations, we're helping one person at a time to become their next best selves. Thank you.